TMS Web allows multiple forms development. In a previous video I said that TMS Web follows the single-page application model. Just as a reminder, a single-page application, SPA, is a web application that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current page rather than loading entire new pages from a server. That means you do not specify an URL in order to navigate to a different page. You have to use the framework in order to load the content into the existing page. Following the Delphi thinking, you have one designated main form. And then you have one of the following options. You either can create a modal form, a pop-up form, or you can embed another form into your existing main form. Just be assured that the framework handles loading of the content. You will have the option to interact with form creation and destruction using events. This is a multi-form demo that ships with a framework. First of all, you have the main form called Form 1. This form gives you the option to enter a sample text and to select if you want to launch the second form as a pop-up or as a second form. The second form will repeat the value that you entered on the main form into this edit field. You will have the option to close it using the button. There's absolutely no source code in the second form, except of course the onClick handler for the button that closes the form. All the source code to handle creation and destruction of the secondary form is located on the main form. First of all, don't be confused. This is the code where you create the new form. You call tform to create new, and then you specify what is supposed to happen after the form has been created. As the web is asynchronous, you have no chance to do it any other way. As the web browser handles the creation of the form, we can't use the form create handler of the secondary form. We have to specify a procedure that is supposed to be called when the form has been created. Thus, we hand a method to the create new call. After create gets the form that has just been created as a parameter, and thus we can fill any edit values or transfer any data to the secondary form, typecasting to the form. Every TWeb form has a pop-up property, which allows us to decide when it is being shown, if it is shown as a pop-up window or as a normal window. Here we set the pop-up property to the checked value of the web checkbox 1. Finally, we display the second form using showModal, and we supply yet another method that allows us to control what is supposed to happen when that form is closed. Here we simply show a message to the user that the form has been closed, and we also display the edit value. Be aware that we yet again show the value of the secondary form on the main form. And of course, we transfer the value into the edit of the main form. Finally, let's have a look at embedded forms. This is a demo that will also be released together with TMS Web. This is the main form that is supposed to host the embedded form. We need a control that designates the area where the embedded form is to be shown. A panel is perfect for this purpose. So when the application is going to be launched, we are going to create different instances of subforms inside of the host panel. In our application, we have two more forms. We designed both forms in the Delphi Form Designer. This is subform number 1, consisting of a list box and a label. The label is going to show the selection of the list box. Then we have a second subform, which simply consists of a button, which is going to add a line to the web memo. The controls have been added to the subform, so you see that the user interaction will still work when embedding a form. Furthermore, we will show that text that has been added to a list box on the main form can easily be transferred over to a subform. Let's first have a look at the application in action. Clicking on the first button allows us to create a subform. You see that the subform is hosted inside of the panel that we specified. We can easily remove the subform and also create a secondary subform. The user interaction will still work, which I will show by clicking on the web button. Finally, let's transfer some data from the main form over to the subform. We create another form and click transfer to subform, and you see that the values appear in the list box of the subform. Then we can select any value, and it's being displayed in the label on the form. You will be even more surprised and happy how easy it is to implement this. I already showed you the two subforms. Both forms simply deal with what they do, like adding text to the memo. There's no special code dealing with the transfer from the main form to the subform inside of the subforms. It's all hosted on the main form. First of all, let's look at how we create subforms. Let me just start with the fact that we have a variable form that keeps track of the last subform that we have created. Thus, whenever we create a subform, we check if there's already a form assigned to it and free if necessary. In order to create a subform, we use application create form. The first parameter is the type of the subform, followed by the element ID of the control that is supposed to host the form. In this case, hostpanel.elementID. The final parameter specifies the instance variable that is supposed to take over the reference to the subform. You can see that it's the same code for the second subform, just changing the type of the form. Removing the subform is also very easy. You free the memory and set form to nil. Even transferring the data to the subform is very easy. First, you check that the form variable is assigned, and you also check that form is actually tsubform1. Then you can access that variable, typecasting it to tsubform1, and have full access to all the visual controls on that form. Then you simply transfer the values from the list box of the main form over to the list box on the subform. That's it. And that's also it for anything that deals with secondary forms or subforms with TMS Web. As you can see, even though we follow the single page application model, there's really no restriction for your web application development.